1 Corinthians 2, 1 through 5. And I, brethren, when I came to you, that's the church at Corinth, did not come with excellence of speech or of wisdom, declaring to you the testimony of God. For I determined not to know anything among you except Jesus Christ and him crucified. I was with you in weakness, in fear, and in much trembling. And my speech and my preaching were not with persuasive words of human wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not be in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. We need to give this a historical setting. If we were to turn to the book of Acts, we'd find that Paul's ministry in Corinth is described in Acts chapter 18. But in the previous chapter, chapter 17, we have the record of Paul's ministry in Athens. Now, Athens was the university city of the world in that time. It was the center of philosophy and human wisdom, the source of what we have come to call humanism. And Paul, rather surprisingly, I think, adjusted himself to his audience. He spoke to the upper level of the intellectual and social life of Athens, and he talked in terms of philosophy. And he even quoted a Greek poet. And at the end, the results were pretty meager. It says a few people believed. I don't know whether Paul was right or wrong about his message. But then he went on from Athens to Corinth, which was a large port city and a typical port city full of all sorts of vice, prostitution, homosexuality, immorality, and extortion of every kind. And in the meanwhile, somewhere between Athens and Corinth, he made this decision. When I get to Corinth, I'm going to forget everything I knew except Jesus Christ and him crucified. Now, the results in Corinth were tremendous. The whole city was stirred. The whole city was impacted by the news of the gospel. And historians estimate that quite early on, there were probably 25,000 believers in the city of Corinth. Totally different from the response and the results in Athens. What made the difference? The message. Jesus Christ crucified. Going back for a moment to 1 Corinthians chapter 1, I want to read some verses there because they are my personal testimony. As I've already said, I spent 7 years studying Greek philosophy and other forms of philosophy, modern philosophy, what was fashionable in those days, which is about 50 years ago, which was called linguistic philosophy, logical positivism, and all that. If you've ever been involved in philosophy, I was a pupil of Ludwig Wittgenstein at Cambridge for 2 years, and he was known as the father of linguistic philosophy, a very brilliant man, but definitely not a Christian. So this is my personal testimony. 1 Corinthians 1, verses 18 through following. For the message of the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, and this is quoted from the Old Testament, God says, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise and bring to nothing the understanding of the prudent. Where then is the wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the disputer of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of this world? For since in the wisdom of God, the world through wisdom did not know God, it pleased God through the foolishness of the message preached to save those who believe. That's my testimony. In the wisdom of God through wisdom, I never came to know God. But when I heard the foolishness of the message preached and responded to it, I was saved.